What do we really know about Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus? The Bible tells us he was a humble carpenter, a man of integrity and obedience to God. But beyond the familiar nativity scenes and a few scattered references in the Gospels, Joseph remains a somewhat elusive figure. Yet hidden in the ancient texts outside the Bible, the Apocrypha, are stories that give us a deeper, more mystical glimpse into his life. Who was this man chosen to be the guardian of the Son of God? What did he experience beyond what is told in the New Testament? These lost books, often regarded with a mixture of curiosity and mystery, contain fascinating accounts that have captured the imagination of believers for centuries. In this video, we'll explore the history of Joseph the Carpenter as told in the apocryphal texts, particularly the History of Joseph the Carpenter, which offers vivid details of his life, his role in raising Jesus, and even the circumstances surrounding his death. Join us as we delve into these forgotten narratives to uncover the hidden legacy of one of Christianity's most important, yet underappreciated figures. But before we dive in, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more deep dives into biblical mysteries and ancient Christian stories. Who was Joseph? According to the canonical Gospels. The canonical Gospels, particularly Matthew and Luke, give us a basic outline of Joseph's life. We learn that he was a righteous man, engaged to Mary, the mother of Jesus, when she became miraculously pregnant by the Holy Spirit. Upon learning this, Joseph initially planned to quietly divorce Mary, but an angel appeared to him in a dream, instructing him to take Mary as his wife because her child was conceived by God. Joseph obeyed without hesitation, demonstrating his faith and humility. Beyond this, Joseph is present at key moments in Jesus' early life, such as the birth in Bethlehem, the flight to Egypt to escape Herod's massacre, and the return to Nazareth. After the incident where a young Jesus is found in the temple, Joseph disappears from the biblical narrative. He is not mentioned during Jesus' public ministry, and it is assumed that he died before Jesus began his work. But is that all there is to Joseph's story? The apocryphal writings suggest otherwise, offering fascinating insights into his background, his relationship with Mary and Jesus, and the details of his death. The Apocrypha. What are these lost books? Before we dive into the specific history of Joseph, let's clarify what we mean by Apocrypha. The Apocrypha refers to a collection of ancient writings that were not included in the canonical Bible. These texts, which include Gospels, epistles, and historical accounts, were written in the same time period as the New Testament, but were excluded from the official canon for various reasons. While many of these writings were regarded as valuable by early Christian communities, they were later deemed non-canonical due to theological concerns or questions about their authorship. However, the Apocrypha still holds immense historical and spiritual significance, especially for those interested in the broader scope of Christian tradition. One such text, the History of Joseph the Carpenter, provides a wealth of information about Joseph's life that cannot be found in the Bible. Now that we understand the significance of these lost texts, let's turn our attention to Joseph's story as told in the Apocrypha. The History of Joseph the Carpenter. The History of Joseph the Carpenter is an apocryphal text believed to have been written in Egypt during the 4th or 5th century. While it is not part of the New Testament, it was cherished by many early Christian communities, particularly in Egypt, for the insight it offers into the life of Joseph. This text is unique in that it portrays Joseph as an elderly man who lived a long and devout life. According to this account, Joseph lived to the age of 111 years and died in the presence of Jesus and Mary. The narrative provides a detailed description of Joseph's life, his family, his work as a carpenter, and the holy atmosphere in which he lived. Joseph's early life and marriage to Mary. The history of Joseph the Carpenter begins by tracing Joseph's ancestry, emphasizing his connection to the royal lineage of King David. He is described as a devout and righteous man from a young age, known for his work ethic, humility, and deep reverence for God. At the age of 40, Joseph married a woman named Melcha, sometimes referred to as Esha in other versions, with whom he had 6 children, 4 sons and 2 daughters. These children are referenced in the New Testament as the brothers of Jesus, though their exact relationship to him has been a subject of theological debate for centuries. After Melch's death, Joseph lived as a widower for many years, devoting himself to his work as a carpenter and to raising his children. Then, at the age of 90, he was chosen by the temple priests to be the guardian and husband of the young Virgin Mary, who had been consecrated to God. This union, however, was not a typical marriage. Joseph and Mary lived together in purity, and Joseph accepted the responsibility of protecting and providing for her and her divine son. The Nativity and Joseph's role as protector. The history of Joseph the Carpenter echoes many of the familiar events from the Gospels, including the birth of Jesus. It portrays Joseph as a man deeply in tune with divine guidance. After the angelic visitation, in which he was told to take Mary as his wife despite her miraculous pregnancy, Joseph faithfully carried out his role as protector of Mary and Jesus. The flight into Egypt is a key moment in Joseph's life, where he is shown to be a guardian not just in the physical sense, but spiritually as well. The Apocryphal account emphasizes the trials and hardships Joseph endured during this journey, all the while trusting in God's plan for the Holy Family. In this narrative, Joseph's patience, faith, and devotion shine through, showing why he was chosen for such a divine role. This journey to Egypt also reflects the mystical nature of Joseph's life. The apocryphal texts often describe miraculous events surrounding the family during their travels, further elevating Joseph's spiritual significance. Before we continue uncovering more of Joseph's incredible story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming explorations into biblical and mystical stories. Joseph's death, a peaceful and holy end. One of the most compelling sections of the history of Joseph the Carpenter focuses on Joseph's death. According to the text, Joseph lived to be 111 years old, much longer than the average lifespan during that time. His advanced age is portrayed as a sign of God's blessing and favor. In his final days, Joseph is described as being surrounded by angels, with Jesus and Mary by his side. The text provides a detailed account of his death, emphasizing the peacefulness and holiness of his passing. Joseph's death is not portrayed as a tragic event, but rather a moment of divine grace. In fact, his death is viewed as a model for the way that all faithful Christians should hope to die, in the presence of Christ and under the care of angels. This account of Joseph's death also sheds light on the deep bond between him and Jesus. As Joseph lay dying, Jesus is depicted as comforting him, reminding him of the rewards that await him in heaven. It is a touching scene that highlights the unique relationship between Joseph and his divine son. It also reinforces the idea that Joseph, while often overlooked, played a crucial role in the divine plan of salvation. The mystical elements of Joseph's story. The history of Joseph the Carpenter is filled with mystical elements that elevate Joseph's life from that of a simple carpenter to a figure of profound spiritual significance. His role as the earthly father of Jesus is portrayed not merely as a functional position, but as a divinely appointed mission that carried with it great spiritual responsibilities. One of the most mystical aspects of the narrative is the portrayal of Joseph's interactions with angels and other divine beings. Throughout the text, Joseph is guided and comforted by angels, who help him fulfill his role as protector of the Holy Family. These divine interventions serve as a reminder of the close relationship between heaven and earth in Joseph's life. Another mystical aspect of Joseph's story is the way in which his death is framed. The main history of Joseph the Carpenter emphasizes that Joseph did not experience death as a typical human being might. Instead, his death is portrayed as a peaceful transition into the afterlife, surrounded by divine presence. This portrayal reinforces the belief in Joseph's holiness and his unique place in Christian tradition. Joseph's legacy and influence on Christian tradition. While Joseph's role in the New Testament may seem brief, his influence on Christian tradition has been profound. The History of Joseph the Carpenter provides a deeper understanding of his significance, particularly in the areas of faith, obedience, and humility. Joseph is often seen as a model of fatherhood, not only in his care for Jesus, but in the way he lived his life. His willingness to accept God's will, even when it was difficult or confusing, serves as an example for all Christians. His quiet strength and unwavering faith are qualities that have inspired countless believers throughout history. In addition to being a model of fatherhood, Joseph is also seen as a figure of divine protection. In many Christian traditions, he is invoked as a protector of families, workers, and the dying. His peaceful death, as described in the Apocryphal texts, has made him a patron saint of a good death in Catholic tradition, where he is called upon to assist those nearing the end of their earthly lives. The story of Joseph the Carpenter, as told in the Apocryphal texts, offers a rich and mystical portrait of a man whose life was deeply intertwined with the divine. From his humble beginnings as a carpenter to his role as the earthly father of Jesus and his peaceful death surrounded by angels, Joseph's story is one of faith, obedience, and divine purpose. While much of his life remains a mystery, the apocryphal accounts provide a deeper understanding of his significance in Christian tradition. Joseph's life and death serve as a reminder that even the most humble and ordinary lives can be touched by the divine and play a crucial role in the unfolding of God's plan. As we wrap up this exploration of the history of Joseph the Carpenter, we invite you to continue your journey with us. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated with our latest content on biblical mysteries, ancient texts, and mystical stories. Thank you for watching, and may the peace and blessings of Joseph be with you always.